It's here, Jarla.
See that transition?
Taking on Bunnyhoppor.
You peeped that transition?
Woo! So good. Control Warrior banned away from Bunnyhoppor's side. That little Divine Shield icon, that's the class they protected prior to the match. It's ineligible to be banned away. And so from Jarla's side, he's had his Quest Druid banned away. And you can see the protects on both sides, of course, being Priest. Priest is absurd. So now, for the kicker in the match, though, is that Jarla's Warrior is actually Bomb Warrior coming into this week. And he said in his interview yesterday that he wasn't quite happy with his list, that it didn't really hit the mark that he was looking for in terms of his planning. But his play on it has looked pretty spectacular, and pretty much everywhere else it's been that way as well. He had a pretty rough start in Season 1, but here he's looking to take the lead in the division if he can defeat Bunnyhoppor.
And that's important, and I'm glad that we have it, because we have had an emotional roller coaster of a day as we've got through that series with Swids and then the one with Fino, where it was really the grim spectre of relegation. You've established this as canon now. You've repeated it so many times that I just kind of have to run with it at this point. But now we get to refocus on the thing that makes people happy, which is people fighting for the top of the group, fighting for those playoff spots. And Jarla and Bunnyhoppor are doing so in one of the most competitive fields of Hearthstone players that we've ever seen. It's a small group, it's a division of 8 players, but that 8 players that are in this division are all incredible. Jarla and Bunnyhoppor are currently tied at the top with a record of 4-1 each. Winner of this one goes clear.
And Bunnyhoppor has demonstrated this for quite some time now, that he's been pretty deserving of those top spots. In Season 1, he had a pretty spectacular record as he was approaching like in the middle and late stages of the season. He had 2 championship appearances under his belt, including a win in 2018, and he made it to the top 4 at the World Championship, where he was only bested by his friend and practice partner who made it to the Grand Finals in Viper. And this is like a stacked resume that he's built up, all while pursuing a PhD, finalizing that PhD that he's achieved. And that is enormous. Like, I don't know where he finds the time with this. Just plug himself into the wall and charge back up again?
Apparently, yeah. And his PhD, by the way, like, I've heard the title of his thesis, and I still don't know what it's about.
TLDR biochemistry.
Yeah, right. So yeah, he is an incredibly, incredibly smart person, and he is now perhaps scarier than ever because he has this ability to now be full-time in Hearthstone for at least some period while he's scrapping away in Grandmasters, and that's never been the case before. All those things Admirable described, this man did as a part-timer while he was completing his thesis.
And nothing too fancy that's going on in the lineup. The Druid one is really where I have my eye on it, where the Floop's Glorious Gloop and the Bee's Inclusion are helped to activate that, at least the Enlightened, as you move through the game. A couple of tools that I feel are suboptimal for the case, but they get the job done when you're trying to activate at least, because that's a setup that oftentimes requires you to have time to do it. And if you're stuck trying to just draw those last couple of cards and set things up, you can get buried deep into fatigue as those endgames approach. But in this matchup, having any extra tools that can fight for board, I think is a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. So we're going to see a departure. We've been primarily seeing the Priest be played out in mirrors across quite a few of the regions, certainly Americas and Europe. But this time, Jarla gets to face down the Druid, and that card that he hangs onto there, High Priest Ahmet, that is the absolute boy in the matchup.
The juice. Bunnyhoppor, in the last day or so, he apologized for not having his camera up. He had just moved to a new town in Norway, and he was unsure of the internet capacity while he's playing the game. So
okay.
He issued an apology on Twitter for that. And you know what? I'll accept your apology, but I haven't forgiven you yet, because I love seeing his emotions when crazy stuff starts happening.
So he's worried that the webcam broadcast is going to take up too much bandwidth on his internet tubes, and then he's going to disconnect from the game or something like that?
He posted a picture on Twitter of where it is, and it looks like a place where, you know, I might be a little bit skeptical about that as well.
All right, fair enough.
Lovely looking place, though.
Fair enough. All of Norway is stunning.
That's why I'm highlighting this place in particular.
Okay, yeah,
it feels like it goes above and beyond the call of even that.
Okay, fair enough.
Quickly.
Every time I have coin with Ahmet in this matchup, I just want to wait, and I want to wait, and I don't know if I should. Decide for me, Jarla.
I think it's very reasonable here, honestly. I think you would very often one-drop coin extra arms, for example, if that were your hand, because that just beats up a Druid incredibly effectively and they don't really have counterplay against it. But I think with this hand, it's fairly slow going coin 2 into 2 anyway. It's not like an enormous blowout. So I think holding onto coin makes a lot of sense here.
Always holding from now on.
with every hand. Context be damned.
What to do?
Specifically when I have Ahmet.
It's a mighty fine-looking keeper of the grove.
Time waits for no one.
Do you ever get baited into a silence effect in this matchup? I don't think so, right?
So when the quest is active, it deals the 2 damage and then it silences, which
In
is
the bad
what
order.
I hate about it.
Yeah, in the bad order. I think like the card quality of the other 2 cards, Oasis Surger in particular, are just so much. No, Bunnyhoppor does surprise me.
Ooh.
Wow, all right.
Wow, okay.
I've got more left in me.
Hard pass, hard pass.
I'm curious about that that keeper.
I am too. I think it would have been on Oasis Surger. Obviously, I get the point. If a keeper of the grove in the matchup, silence effect against priest, like it just makes sense. But it's just such a low quality card in comparison to Oasis Surger.
Speaks volumes for how important he believes having an insurance plan is.
Yep.
Yeah, because it just feels to me like Oasis Surger is kind of doing the same thing. It silences it mostly just by killing whatever it attacks.
Right. It's hard to make too much noise when you're dead.
Yeah, but if you face down like a circle of healing into Divine Spirit, Oasis Surger doesn't kill that.
Yeah. It also doesn't kill Ahmet on curve,
Time waits
which
for no one.
Doesn't shut down Psychopops.
yeah, Keeper of the Grove is able to do. So I think against this hand, you know, Jarla's sitting holding onto a coin. Maybe Bunny is just suspecting that there is an Ahmet in hand. He sees the card be kept and it hasn't been played so far. Maybe he's just looking at Jarla's hand and saying, well, he kept 1 card. He has coin still. If he coins Ahmet, I need to be able to deal with that. And Oasis Surger doesn't do that job. Keeper of the Grove absolutely does.
Especially not behind a taunt.
Yep.
I think this coin Ahmet will take Bunnyhoppor off of quest progress sometimes as well.
Oh, yeah,
I
100%.
see a dark
This is getting silenced.
What if he just bees it?
What if you just bees it? That's a good question. End up with a 2-3. Oh, the Nephesset Ritualist, though. Oh.
Okay, so cover Jarla's hand. Cover
No,
Jarla's hand real
okay,
quick.
all right, I've covered the hand.
Okay, now...
Oh, what if he has a Nephesset Ritualist?
Ah, well, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, the Nephesset Ritualist is pretty brutal,
That
right?
is a good point.
Time waits
That's
for
a
no
tough
one.
spot. I have no idea.
What to
It just admittedly, I would be in a different spot. I would have an Oasis Surger.
I must safeguard
Yeah,
the light.
and you would be dead. I would too.
Whoa.
I'm not defending it. I only saw the point of this way after the fact. I would have taken the Oasis Surger and been dead to this too.
He's probably just going to end up being dead anyway.
I mean,
this is
it's priest versus
goodness
druid. Like, come on,
gracious, that
what do you
hand
want?
is so good.
I wonder.
It's not even like busted good. It's just like you drew some good cards.
Yeah.
You're fighting against Druid. They don't really get active.
Yep.
You have to be active against Priest if you want to best them.
Trade cleric, ritualist.
Is
Go from
someone
there.
injured?
Find yourself an inner fire to end the game with.
Life is an afterthought.
Or more health buffs, so you can just do it immediately with the topsy-turvy, but he does pick up the inner fire now.
Sidekick is demon.
Quickly. Kind of into hitting him for 6.
Must consider.
You take him down to 21, you represent lethal on board just with the Divine Spirit
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
in the topsy-turvy.
Smart.
Yeah. This is the line. Your opponent's still neutered because they just haven't completed their quest yet. Like, I think this is just an almost secure lethal setup. You even have the silence for just a 5-mana plop to Nubisat Defender. Yeah, Inner Fire was the line.
Checkmate.
Yep. Quick game 1. Not something that you would really predict to see out of Jarla and Bunnyhoppor, who I think, if we assessed the APM of the players in this tournament, these would be our 2 slowest players, at least in the Europe region. But a very, very quick game 1. Priest will do that to you.
Just so weird that an Oasis Snapjaw is going to end up getting there this game.
Yeah.
Waits for no one.
Can Bunny survive just by, like, beezing the 2-7 now? If he bees the 2-7, isn't he alive? Yes.
Imagine predicting that.
No, I know.
Nobody's that bad or that good.
I know. I'm just saying we should do the due diligence because we're sat here saying like, oh, he's 100% dead. No, he wasn't 100% dead. There was a play.
Hey, I got you, friend.
We didn't say this turn.
Yeah, fair enough. I think even then the Beaming Sidekick has him covered as well. I was just looking at Divine Spirit Inner Fire. Either way, game 1 over to Jarla.
Even maximizes the damage. Wait, did he? He could have gone. Oh, yeah, he did. Attacked everything. Jarla's just got clean play. Like, even amidst the, like, devastation that took place in that one, he's like, let me make sure I deal the most damage possible.
Yeah.
On this iteration.
And I mean, even on the previous turn, it's very easy there to lower your win percentage by a few points by playing the Beaming Sidekick instead. Like, the Inner Fire was a great spot just to set up the secure lethal on the following turn.
Yeah, just pushed 8.
Yep.
It's a lot of damage for one mana.
Huge damage.
Indeed. So that's going to bring us to a break here on that one. Not really too much to talk about. Bunny got blown up. So, as we head to break, when we come back, it's our 6th and final match that's taking place here on Spectacular Sunday. Jarla's up a game. Bunnyhoppor's trying to claw back. Stay tuned.
The shadows are rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save. Oh no!
Hello, my name is Kong Shu. My handle is StrifeCrow. I think my original name was just like Strife. I think I just stole it from someone else that I saw online at the time when I was like 10. One of my favorite esports memory, it was like a dream hack. I ended up having like this like epic, like I don't even know how long this game against Glento eventually beat me in that game, but I kind of brought the mage to the tournament, not as like, say I thought it was like the best thing ever, but because I just wanted to like show people I could destroy everyone with my kind of like troll deck. The thing I'm most looking forward to in Grandmasters is kind of the dynamic, because I've never really had this like league kind of dynamic in the past. You have 2 matchups a week, and you can kind of like target them. You know, you can start making spreadsheets, see what they play, see what decks are good against the decks that they play. You can even kind of play some mind games like that. I think my play is unique in the sense that I'm very like technical. I don't play a lot on intuition as much. Like I really like to have my thoughts and game plans planned out and go from there. My personal goals this year is kind of to get back into Hearthstone. Because I took such a long break, I feel like I'm finally refreshed and ready to go. So that's one thing I'm just looking forward to get like that motivation back.
My name is Eddie Liu, formerly Sehun628. Now it's just Eddie plain. My last year I had a pretty successful year, especially since I only played this game for 2 years. I won DreamHack Atlanta. It's only a tour stall, but it meant a lot to me, especially since I was grinding really, really hard for a win. When I first knew that, like I received the email that I got into Grandmaster, I was really excited. I checked my email at like 10:30, and I was like hyped. I was like, oh my god, is this actually real? I think I'm a very consistent player. I think the X factor for myself is that I hate playing aggro decks, I would say. I'm a very control/anti-control player. I rather outgrind my opponent in resources. I constantly judge myself, oh, is this right? Is what I'm doing correct? And it means a lot. It means a lot to me that if other people are agreeing what I do and what I think. At this point, I just want to make Worlds. I had a pretty good record in Tour Stop. I think I was at least top 10, if not top 5. I think I was lucky. I think this group is the easier group, and I think I have a good chance getting out of groups.
Spectacular Sunday on Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe, and we are amidst our 6th bonus match.
Bonus match.
As I'm going to call it. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora. I'm joined by Simon Sono Welch. Sono, how are you enjoying our bonus match?
I'm enjoying it more with you saying it like that. I have to say, that's really adding to my experience. But it's been, so far it's just been a Priest blowout, but now we're going to get into some real meat of a matchup that I'm very interested in. Now, can I call it hotly contested this time without upsetting you? Is that?
I just didn't know what you meant. I wanted clarity.
Pre-warning, I'm going to do it again, okay?
What are you going to do again?
It's a hotly contested matchup between Druid and Paladin. We were even having some debates in the break then between ourselves and our producer Abar, who is also a strong player, has qualified for championship events in the past, about how this matchup goes. Abar says he has a lot of success going for the heal plan, but I know we've spoken to Ball Control, and Ball Control says that over 40+ games, he's only had that work against him twice from the Druid side. But then if you go back to the series earlier with Casey, we think there might have been an opportunity for Casey to have, with his double Innovate, double Hidden Oasis hand, to be able to dupe those up and start healing like mad. We don't know. We are waiting to find out more and more about this matchup as the players get better and better at it and dig deeper and deeper into it. We'll see how this one's going to play out.
It's a tough matchup. It requires a lot of reps to fully understand what you're capable of.
Yep.
Talking about the list from Jarla, he is running with Zephyrus, but he has something that's a little unusual, which is the 2 copies of True Silver Champion that are included in the deck. Oftentimes, that card has found its way to 1 copy to help activate your Zephyrus earlier on. I mean, we have a number of times we've seen 2 True Silvers buried at the bottom of the deck. It's happened, I believe, twice out of the 3 times I've seen this list played in Grandmasters. It's obviously very unusual, but stuff like that matters. Like being able to steal a game here and there due to a slight percentage, that could be the difference between having a season that makes playoffs and not.
Absolutely.
And so the fact that that's come into play at times, it's quite bizarre to think about, but every little edge matters. And so I want to take those times to point that out because you don't often see it come to fruition. When it comes to fruition, that's a spectacular thing that ends up happening in that case. And so for Jarla, I'm curious to see how this gets piloted against Bunnyhoppor and vice versa because, you are right on hotly contested. Just didn't really know by whom. I'm very much in the camp that it is Paladin favored, but that with the right hands, and it doesn't take much to change that hand, that Druid can absolutely have some great game plans against the double Holy Wrath package.
Okay. Yeah, usually I would get on my soapbox about 2 ofs in decks, but I think Zephyrus is absolutely a special circumstance in that case, where if you're playing a Zephyrus deck that isn't, for example, Rogue with Myras, where that's your whole game plan, you have to start thinking about trimming some of the fat away so that you have a higher percentage of getting Zephyrus active early in the deck.
Yeah, looking for redundant effects rather than the same effect.
Right. Which is why we've seen like 1 Subdue come into Paladin to go alongside like 1 Shrink Ray, 1 Equality, for example, having those 3 effects as redundancy for each other.
Partially fills the role of that Equality, and that's where that second True Silver normally goes.
Yep.
I've played with both versions. I personally like the True Silver version, as you can have guessed if you've ever heard me talk about damage in Hearthstone.
Ooh, okay, Jarla has just about everything he's looking for now. I was going to say he has a decent start, but any start that doesn't involve a Christology, you have to ask questions about. But now the Christology has been found. Jarla is going to have a very, very fast draw. I think Fino had one of the fastest draws we've seen from Paladin so far in this tournament, where he was down to his last few cards on turn 8 or turn 9, I believe.
This is a really interesting point of the game to me, too, where I feel like Jarla might be justified in foregoing mana efficiency here. If he plays Acolyte of Pain, that'll very often be a Wrath target for Bunnyhoppor. If he plays Wild Pyromancer, that might not be the case. Now, I think Bunnyhoppor is a player who's smart enough to sniff out that kind of play and go, wait a minute, this has got to be an Acolyte Christology setup. At the very least, I'm just going to take extra damage if I don't clear it off. But I think a Wild Pyro into an Acolyte Christology is the real consideration for Jarla here.
What about if you rip the Christology and put the Novice Engineer, and if you whiff, you get like Crystal Smith Kangor and use that to fill out your mana instead?
That's the standard option, right?
Okay.
I think the Jarl is the player who will constantly hunt for alternatives.
Okay. He's running out of time to be able to react to the draw state here, and he is just going to drop Acolyte of Pain. Which I would argue Acolyte of Pain would be like the standard option here. It's a card in your hand that costs 3, and you drop it on turn 3. I think Christology is digging a little deeper than that, and Wild Pyromancer is digging even further.
There's two upsides to the Acolyte, though, that I didn't really think about, which is, number one, if Bunnyhoppor does not have a Wrath, what that means is you get to have a pop-off turn.
Yep.
Number two is, if Bunnyhoppor has the choice between Crystal Merchant and something and the Wrath, like you're absolutely pulling him off the Crystal Merchant at that point, it seems like.
Yeah, makes sense.
Even if there isn't a Wrath, I think the Acolyte pulls him off the Crystal Merchant.
Maybe.
Just a bump and free cards? Like, that's the most dangerous thing you can give to Paladin.
Yeah, but I think also, like, if we're talking about, you know, Druid needing to get through their deck to be able to find their options and be able to duplicate stuff, like, their card draw is almost equally important. You saw Bunny keep a Nourish, which I think indicates that kind of thinking as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nourish is insane, too. Helps.
Yeah.
The downside to the Acolyte first would be sometimes you draw the one-attack minions.
Yep, also true. I think there's always enough of them in the deck at this point that he's going to get value.
It's just one of the few decks that actually, like, utilizes deck thinning, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's a concept that we talk about a lot. One that's very, very rarely relevant. Usually just digging through the deck is the important part.
Right.
It's a cool early game. Pretty rare you get that much from this matchup.
Jarla debating how much utility he might need to get out of Blood Mage Thalanos this game. It is a fairly useful card in combination with Consecration and Hammer of Wrath if you need to go down that route where you're facing down aggression and you need to fight back against it.
Yeah, Jarla will always end up taking his time because he's planning out hand sizing stuff as well.
Yep.
Kind of a nod to what this is. You favor the damage as well. Chipping away is not irrelevant. So for Bunny, that Innervate represents a pretty massive turn that's possible. Although we did just talk about the importance of having the endgame healing plan. That requires you to have at least one Innervate in hand.
Well, not necessarily, right? It depends what you're going to end up duping. You can end up duping a bunch of Ferocious Howls, which are much cheaper for similar effect, and just go like freaking Hidden Oasis Ferocious Howl back to back on two turns. And
yeah, I like the armor plan as well.
Yeah.
I did technically specify healing, so this is our semantics debate for the day.
Sure.
Nothing like a nice fine glass of semantics with Saddle.
Time waits for no one.
I think if anything like that, Innovate might come in useful with a Nourish in given turns anyway, if he doesn't want to Oasis Surger immediately after quest completion. I'd be surprised to see it used here. I'd be surprised to see Swipe used here, so I think it's just Crystal Merchant. Say go.
Behold, jewels of the sun.
Oh, he's going to use it. All right.
Represents the pressure point plan.
That turn passed on a really weird cadence, and I thought that it just hadn't used the Innovate.
It's the eternal rope!
Yeah.
Legend has it the rope is burning to this day. Oh, it is. There we go. No check on the Crystal Merchant, but Your major thought is Oasis Surger, so I don't think you mind.
Right.
Innervated a hero power. Yeah. So, it just feels weird.
Everything about the early game of Quest Druid feels weird.
You're saving up mana.
Yeah.
Mana saved is a mana earned. Wait a minute, that's not the case at all.
A mana in the bush is worth 2 in the hand?
I've still never understood that idiom.
No, I don't know what it means.
I guess to be fair, TJ and I have never understood idioms.
No, you made that abundantly clear.
Jarla next turn is going to be facing some hand size issues.
Yeah, I think True Silver is really the card he needed to have picked up by now. We've talked about that double True Silver being buried over and over again, but having a True Silver just to start hacking away at these Oasis Surges that are going to come down, or even the Crystal Merchant if that's where his head's at.
Yeah, I think these are some pretty critical turns here for Bunnyhoppor as well. It's pressure the turn 6, be able to follow up on the turn 7 and make it awkward as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times, not having pressure. Wait, what? Oh, it's just a Crystal Merchant.
Ooh.
Okay. I was super confused for a second.
Yeah, no True Silver. Kangor's is, or Kangor I should say, is a little bit of security with these flashlights in hand that he can take a bit of a beating and still be able to recover.
Just what do you dump? What do you get rid of?
Good question.
Perhaps you take a draw. See if you find a True Silver.
2 True Silvers in 14. Otherwise, you could maybe just consider shrink raying this board. It's not like there's going to be a Cenarius coming down in your near future.
Yeah. The thing I always have trouble with shrink raying is like, just what do you do on turn 7 then? Like the 5/2, that's the turn, right?
Sure.
It's the only way I've found use out of Paladin turn 7 is a 5 mana card and a 2 mana card. And outside of that, I'm always like, oh, gosh. Softening up for Consecration, looks like. High Priest the call, that's a way you can make use of turn 7.
Yeah. Slightly less effective when you've just used those 2 flash of lights back to back on turn 6, though. Still just a 3/4 that you can get into play.
It's a nice setup, though. I mean, the Consecration
nice
plus the High Priest.
Yeah. Kind of achieves similar things to what the Shrink Ray does, except you take a bit of a beating in the meantime. But you save a Shrink Ray, which can save you from a beating later.
Curious to see how interested Bunnyhoppor is in ignoring this 3/1 as well. My guess is not too interested, but
If he's playing an Anubisath, he just can't ignore it, right? I mean, he can. It would be a legal Hearthstone play.
nah, I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
Okay.
But then what do you ignore it with as well? Like, do you keep the Crystal Merchant and draw a card?
What do you ignore it with?
That's what I mean. Like, do you keep the Crystal Merchant and draw the card?
Yeah.
Or do you get rid of the 5/2?
Give up 5 damage.
Ah!
Yeah, it's ugly.
I love dealing damage and I love drawing cards. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Boy, that is an ugly trade for Bunny. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no way.
So yeah, I'm just going to give that one a hard nope. So Consecration to call. It's my first instinct. Is it that simple?
My instinct moved over to Shrink Ray Kangors. Kangor. Why do I call it Kangors? I guess it's that Paladin card.
I just did that like at the start as well. And
I think I've done it the whole time.
I got told on good authority, by the way, that we've both been saying Questing Adventurer today. So not only were you did you relapse, you also infected me.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think you didn't corrected me.
Oh,
That's your
admirable.
job.
You word so good.
You had one job. Correct me.
I did, yeah.
Analyst.
Genuinely, that was the brief I received when they decided to put us two together. So yeah, just keep an eye on admirable, will you?
Yeah, Jarla is much more in favor of utilizing the turn 7 to its fullest extent, which means a bit of pressure to tack on.
Yeah. I think that Crystal Smith Kangor stack did it again. Crystal Smith Kangor can still get some reasonable value later on when there are those 2 true silvers, which once again, 2 true silvers still in the deck. Does
Also,
seem to be the story.
Mana expenditure considerations. Like, draw Novice Engineer, you get to 2/2 and 4 next turn.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I wonder.
Look out! But he needed to make the hand space prior to this nourish.
Time waits for no one.
Interesting.
Behold,
That's
jewels
one of the
of
first times we've
south.
seen Floop just used on that card.
Right. It goes to show how Bunny is kind of desperate for some pressure right now. They're a very slow draw in terms of development. Most of that is just a lack of scenarios. So that is a huge card in terms of representing pressure against Paladin single-handedly.
Ooh, this is tough. You don't want to use the Wild Pyro because you want it for the Shrink Ray. You do want to use the Wild Pyro because you want to kill something in board. But you want the hammer to go face. So I think about that.
I hope you like it.
That's a true silver, and that is an active Zephyrus. That was the last card remaining. I was sat in silence there, just checking the deck list, and it was down to just true silver.
So how does that change things now?
Jarla just commits the Kangor. Bunny now, Ferocious Howl, double hidden Oasis in hand, Elise not yet active, 9 cards remaining.
Yeah, I was thinking swipes this turn's made some sense. Or at least one of them.
Yeah, one of them for sure.
My thought on it was lead Wrath.
And then potentially double, depending on what this draw is.
Yeah, you might be on Starfall. I'm on double swipe now.
1 card late.
Start emptying the hand to set up for the Elise. Set up the damage for the Cenarius push.
Push 12, put your opponent to 7.
Yeah. Definitely worth taking your time on, though.
Time waits for no one.
Just not seeing much else efficient, it feels like.
Right.
Like maybe a Ferocious Howl and a swipe so you don't feel pressured to get outside the range of life total, but... Interesting. 6-6 is pretty awkward. I mean, he has seen Consecration go down. You get a card draw this way as well. Specifically, I'm referencing Consecration because, you know, with 2 True Silvers in the deck, Bunnyhopper's expecting that card to show up pretty soon.
Jarla's last 7 cards are a little bit slow. He does have a Christology left in there, but he's running or possibly completely run out of cards
out
to
of
draw with it. Yeah.
Yep.
Then on top of that, he has the Chevaler itself. He has the second Baleful Banker.
Second Holy Wrath. Second Prismatic Lens.
That's the one card. That's the one like big cycle tool that he has left in there. The rest of them are fairly slow.
Because he has the Holy Wrath, though, it's like there's a much greater risk to that Prismatic Lens with the Shavala still there.
Yep.
I must move quickly.
So although it might look like he's only a couple of turns away with the amount of card draw that Paladins usually power through their last couple of turns, he's actually a fair few. See a timeout this turn? Yeah, okay.
Reporting for duty.
So Jarla does have a win condition being set up for himself, but the problem is he needs more turns than you might expect to be able to execute it. He's kind of meandering towards the finish line rather than charging towards it.
What to do?
Don't really need to dupe him if you're just far out of range. That's 10 armor.
That's active. Zephyrus and Elise, both active now. Does Bunny want to ooze this True Silver with the Zephyrus? That's what we saw Casey going for in the previous series. Possibilities for Bunny here.
Maybe you want to Harrison it.
Sure.
He even offers Harrison here. Ooze, interesting. He used to just always give me Harrison when I had 5 mana.
It would burn a card there, I think, is its concern.
I bet that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. Alright, it's got to be clear time. Which clear is he going to choose to use?
Yeah, I mean... With the Wild Pyro, it's just not looking very good. Just have 3 mana hanging out afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, is this ever like timeout, set another True Silver?
Yeah, just run it back from the last turn. So I think that's important, right? He wants to have those True Silvers equipped so that they're dealing damage and swinging through when he makes the big clear that clears the taunts out of the way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
It's just these final 6 cards.
Move quickly.
Golly, it's so
Let
tough.
me think.
Because you're thinking about, like, where's the rest of this time going to come from as well?
Right,
like,
exactly. It's the problem with like there being very little card draw in the bottom is that he needs to find so many turns to get out of this position.
Yeah.
I do think this is the best chance he has right now, though.
Reporting for duty.
What does Bunny do? Like, you got to get a card out of your hand.
Yep. You can see, like, just it's very simple. Bunny already at 40, so Jarla knows he needs some True Silver damage to go through, because with Bunny at 40, if the True Silver doesn't connect, the first Holy Wrath takes him down to 15, and then the Hidden Oasis takes him back up to 27, which, yes, okay, you can have that covered with Zephyrus Soulfire outs, but you really don't want the margin to be that fine when you're trying to end the game.
That doesn't even factor in the kickers either. Second Howl shows up. If you have pressure against you and you have to expend your mana differently, there are no timeouts left, so you don't get that first Holy Wrath turn with security.
Right.
I think that's what Bunny's trying to set up too, is to make sure that going into
For no one.
the later stages, he can make his best shot to force Zephyrus into a I have to Twisting Nether kind of turn. Oh, look at that. Because that only kills the Crystal Merchant. It doesn't touch the rest of your board. It's 2 damage to all enemy minions.
It's choose a minion, but then the damage specifies enemy, or the AoE damage specifies enemy. Yeah, Bunnyhoppor just making sure space is clear in his hand so that he can dupe as effectively as possible.
Also just didn't want to draw from the Crystal Merchant, I don't think. You can always just, because you can just use the Gloop to do that, right?
I don't know about that. There is a Ferocious Howl still in there.
You just killed one of your 3/2s then?
Yeah, maybe. I guess he does specifically not want to draw.
I wonder. I must move quickly.
Oh, you can't use the Zephyrus right yet. You can't use it yet. Like, you have to try and hang on, I think.
Uses the expensive clear so he has mana flexibility later if he needs that pyro equality. Concentration gets cast, so he gets that 2 damage in, which can end up being vital as well.
Yep.
So yeah, again, Bunny just needs cards out of hand. I feel like Jarla hasn't drawn a card in like 20 minutes. Like, genuinely, like it feels like he's been stuck at this point.
Yeah, it's not just as simple as Hidden Oasis, it's the timing of the back-to-back punches with them. So I do agree you take Hidden Oasis here,
Yeah.
but it's those back-to-back hits that you're trying to avoid.
Right.
25 hits you hard, knocks you down so low that restoring 12 health just isn't enough. That's the idea behind the back-to-back hits in the Holy Wrath.
Yep.
That's why it's so hard to heal outside of range of this.
That's why Casey's situation earlier was so unique, because he had a hand that still had double innovate in it, which made all those things very possible.
Lens drawn, that's perfect.
Finally, with the Shivala drawn as well, he has that safety net of being able to cast it.
Does he have any minions left in the deck? He's a banker left?
Baleful Banker number 2, yeah.
So that banker swaps up to 5 mana, which swaps the Holy Wrath. So,
There's the Christology as well, right?
oh, yeah, there is.
Let me think.
Just trying to think of relevant cost shifts, if there are any.
So his deck is True Silver, Banker, Christology, Holy Wrath, right? No, he has the second True Silver. What's
There's
the
an
fourth
equality.
card? Oh, the Equality, that's right.
Oof. Last 2 cards, Equality, Holy Wrath. He might have needed that equality this turn.
I must move quickly.
13
Let
showing.
me think.
Oh boy.
He is alive.
Yeah, not by much.
Barely.
There's a Hidden Oasis card. I'm sorry, there's a Worthy Expedition card in your opponent's hand as well. You're definitely worried about that.
Yeah.
Jarla's under the gun here, and he's just going to have to risk it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Reporting for duty.
I think you just have to let it rock. And alive he remains. This is razor fine margins in this matchup right now.
What to do?
How much different is this turn if Bunny still had that second swipe? Because he used it during a timeout situation, right?
What to
Yeah, I think you're right.
I just don't know how he could have made that happen.
I think he was in a pretty logical place about getting cards out of his hand.
Time waits for no one.
I don't think he was expecting to have this much pressure with the
Need
slow
a
hand
hand,
that he had.
Explorer?
2 gloops.
I'm almost out of cards.
Quality drawn. I think Bunnyhoppor was going specifically for dupe the swipe.
Dupe the swipe, yeah, and he's whiffed on it. That's just what occurred to me as well.
But if that was the case, even in the face of an equality clear, the true silver swing, you'd be 1 point outside the range.
Yeah.
So it's just a risk versus reward setup. Could be filling up the hand for the Ferocious Owl draw as well. I mean, Bunny's only got 2 cards left.
Let me
If this board gets
think.
cleared, he draws Ferocious Owl. He's got Howl and Nomi.
Might just be occurring to Jarla right now that there's a Ferocious Owl he hasn't seen, which does enable Nomi to be played on the following turn. If that's the case, might feel pressured into having to Shivala now, but he can't do that with the equality clear.
So, Equality, Pyro, Christology. If the Nomi hits, you have Zephyrus clear. You go to 9 health, you're outside of the range of a Dupe swipe. You have 4 damage in play that you're representing with Bunnyhoppor at 26. And the Zephyrus is in hand. So it has to be Ferocious Owl, or Bunny's under threat of lethal and has to make something happen. So he gets to fight back.
Out of cards.
His fight back is still very efficient because of the nature of what it is, but now Jarla gets the turn to launch the Holy Wrath, which means the Shivala hits. When the Shivala hits, that pulls Jarla outside of the range of lethal possibilities. I think that came down to whether or not Bunny drew Ferocious Owl.
Well, he draws Ferocious Owl next turn, so he does heal for 22.
I meant right now.
Right, but I'm saying, like, he still doesn't die straight up to 2 Holy Wraths, right? He goes down to 5. He goes up to, so the Soulfire will kill him.
Fatigue counters.
The Soulfire will kill him off the Zephyrus.
Also, there's 2 fatigue hit to account for. Takes 1 and
Because
then
he
takes
has
2.
to play the Ferocious Owl. Yeah, you're right. Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, that is a major turn. I
Yeah.
think Bunny needed to draw a Ferocious Owl that turn. It backfoots Jarla, then you get to redevelop.
Waits for no one.
It's a completely different game.
I'll tell you one thing for nothing. Bunnyhoppor cannot take these damage from these minions.
That's what I'm saying. Can he double gloop and develop? Oh, wow. I forgot that the double gloop could be the kicker here because the Banker's going to be in play and the Shivala will be in play. So he goes to 25 from the Holy Wrath turn. He's got 2 Oasis Surgers in play. The 5/4 can trade into the Shivala. The 5/2 trades over the Banker. So if you double gloop, you go to 8 mana. You make 1 trade, you go to 10. You Oasis yourself, you go to 17. Or I'm sorry, is it 27? No, it's 17. Then you trade in the 5/2 into the Banker. That's 2 more mana, takes you up to 6. You hit an Oasis again.
He's still dead. Holy Wrath plus Soulfire plus 1 tick of fatigue is exactly 30.
Let's stash that away.
So you have to cast the Ferocious Howl to gain armor. If you cast the Ferocious Howl, you end up taking extra fatigue damage.
Oh, boy.
I'm out of cards. I must move quickly. Your wish is my suggestion.
So this gives... What? Wait. That I don't understand.
He doesn't know he still doesn't know it's been duped,
He's
right?
scared of duplicated swipe still?
No, that can't be the case because...
No, he wouldn't have been dead.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been dead. There can still be duplicated swipe. Maybe he's scared of the exact kind of scenario you were talking about. Wanted minions off the board on Bunny's side?
this
So
just-
that the gloops didn't regen too much mana?
Doesn't that just squelch the possibility of that happening? So if you double gloop here and you Starfall, you go down to 3 mana. You restore 6 of that by killing off these 3 minions in play. So you're up to 9 mana.
That's no good to you, right?
If you Ferocious Howl now, you go to 4. You gain 9 armor up to 13. You double gloop, do the same thing.
Time waits for no
You hit an
one.
Oasis. 13 plus 12. Dead. I think he checkmated. Oh! Did Bunny spot a brilliant play? The Starfall plus the trade-in. Your mana off. Yeah! Wow, nice setup from Jarla. He squelched every possibility.
Okay, I am very, very glad that we get to interview him now, because we get to ask him if he actually was accounting for double Glorious Gloop mana regen with that execute play. That's absurd.
I mean, I think he squelched everything that Bunny had a range of possibility to do at the end as counterplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think because that last card was ferocious, how many of the things were cut off. So I'm dying to personally find out what Jarla was working on there with that last execute.
Jarla's so good.
Yeah.
Like, he found a proactive way to use the Zephyrus in a spot where you're trying to simply deliver that little bit of extra damage and cut off the possibility of your opponent out healing it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find a proactive way to do that with Zephyrus? Like, that's so weird.
Zephyrus is a very proactive card. I don't know what you're so concerned about. But yeah, there's various routes you could have gone down, right? There was Zephyrus into the Soulfire, which if you're not aware, you spend 7 mana in your combo, you play Zephyrus for 2 extra, then you have 1 remaining. So it will give you a Soulfire if a Soulfire is immediately lethal. So actually on your second combo turn with Holy Wrath Paladin, you can do 29, not 25. If that's not the case, you can do the same thing and get Pyroblast for a following turn, which you saw offered there in that situation. That's the kind of situation it will give you Pyroblast in. Jarla went completely next level again somehow and find the execute, and I want to find out what that execute was about, so let's ask Jarla himself. I believe he is standing by, ready to talk to us.
Jarla, can you hear us?
Hello guys. What's
Woo!
up? I can.
That was an impressive game at the very end there. Sottle, you lead off with the question, because this was your thought.
The execute, what was it playing around? Because we can see things that it did play around, but I want to know what you were trying to play around with the execute.
It was against double swipe. He was 1-off with fatigue and the 5/5 on board.
Yes.
Are you aware of all the other possibilities that you played around in that situation as well?
Probably not.
So the double gloop turn, you actually shut off because he would have 2 trades in, so he can actually generate himself a 12 mana separated up turn. So he gets to double Hidden Oasis if you don't execute as well.
Oh yeah, that as well. I actually didn't account for that.
Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, how could you? It's like
that's why I said we need to ask, because if that actually happened, you made the one play that won the game. Like, that's the bottom line. But I was good. Like I said to Admirable right beforehand, if he was actually accounting for double Glorious Gloop into double Hidden Oasis, that's one of the most high-level things I've ever seen. But still, it was an incredible game of Paladin.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
the game was super hard.
Yeah.
So much stuff going around.
It was. I think the whole series kind of seemed that way, aside from like the pre-shenanigans that are going on. So talk to me about this in some of the highlights and some of the tougher decisions you faced in this match.
So basically, Priest always gets the win. So it was about if my Paladin can't find the W, either against Druid or either against Shaman. Yeah, and that was basically series against Bunny. If my Pala wins, I win. If Pala doesn't win, I lose.
Rest of the Paladin game just totally standard from there.
Yeah.
He's too good.
No decisions to be made. How many reps do you have to have on a deck like Holy Wrath Paladin before you feel really comfortable with it? Because I've only started really digging into it recently, and I feel like Zephyrus knowledge is very, very hard to acquire with that deck in terms of like what it does in various situations. Like, do you feel comfortable with the deck, and how much time have you put in to get to that point?
I think Paladin is like the least played deck. I have some experience, but not that much. Also, Zephyrus is sometimes hard to like account for. I had like spots where I wanted Blizzard and it gave me like Shadow Flame, MC Tech, and something else. Complete nonsense. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to navigate, but
Zephyrus doesn't know the matchup. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he's a crazy dude. He's got a lot of weird ideas. I want to talk about now you leading the division after this week. You beat Bunnyhoppor, who was fighting neck and neck with you to take that first place at this point. And in last season, you were in that middle ground where you kept trading matches here and there. What is it like now that the division, I think, Sottle, in my opinion, has got tougher, that you're topping it leading after week 3?
Yeah, I think my group is the harder one, but it's pretty sweet to be able to get number 1 for now, but it's still some more matches coming, and it will be hard to keep up, but yeah, hopefully I can make playoffs this time. Last season I messed up in few series, so I deserved to not make it, but hopefully I can make it this time.
I think that's about it. It's been a long day, so I think we should wrap it up. Jarla, congratulations. Very well played. You are leading the group, and you're a very deserved leader, so well done. Hope to speak to you again next week.
Well played.
Thank you. Have a good night, day.